This video is all about bones, how to use nutrition and exercise to make them strong, and also how to protect them while you're exercising. Welcome, my name is Mareka, and I'm the physiotherapist at sportsinjuryphysio.com. If this is your first time here and you would like to learn how to stay injury-free, make sure to subscribe and hit the little bell so that you don't miss any of the updates. Okay, so tonight's topic is all about bone health. And bone health is quite important for athletes as well as non-athletes, because if our bones aren't strong into old age, you can easily break something, and especially when you're older, it can really affect your life and your quality of life. As an athlete, if your bone health's not good, you can get stress fractures, and that can take months to heal. So it's really important to look after your bones. So my recipe for good bone health has 4 parts to it, or 4 ingredients. The first is vitamin D. The second is minerals, which includes calcium, phosphorus, and magnesium. The third is eating enough. And the fourth is exercise. Okay, so first of all, vitamin D. Now, you may feel that you've heard this song before because I keep on going on about vitamin D. But I can't stress how important this this vitamin is for you. It influences nearly every aspect of your life. It is in charge of it affects your immune system, your muscles, your joints. It affects your mood. It can affect your sleep. But mainly also it affects your bone health. You cannot absorb calcium or magnesium from your gut, phosphorus from your gut, if you don't have enough vitamin D in your body. And if you don't get calcium into your body, you don't get strong bones, because that's one of the main building blocks for bones. So what's the deal with vitamin D? We get it from the sun. The sun produces it in our skin when it shines on it. But the problem is that we need UV light of a certain intensity to produce enough vitamin D. So that's all fine if you live near the equator. But the problem is that for us who live in the UK, our sun is only strong enough for a very short period during the year to actually produce enough vitamin D for us. The second problem is that everybody tends to wear sunscreen these days because we're worried about skin cancer or just our skin's aging before time or prematurely. So we're not actually getting enough UV light on our skin to produce vitamin D. And the third thing, of course, is that a lot of us are spending a lot more time indoors on computers, kids playing video games. There's a lot of research out there to show that rickets is coming back in the UK now, which they mainly attribute to the fact that kids aren't playing outside enough. So yes, if you live in a country like I do in the UK, where you don't see enough sun in the winter especially, then you may have to think about vitamin D supplements. I've written a whole blog post in the past about vitamin D supplements and kind of the recommended levels and everything, and I will post that in the group after this. The big thing is that they say you can't overdose on vitamin D, but they recommend that you don't take more than 4,000 international units. That's how they measure vitamin D. So if you check your supplements, that's kind of what you're looking for. But if you feel that you're getting at least 15 minutes of proper intense sunshine without any sunblock on per day, and it's not your winter sun, it's proper summer sun, then you probably don't need it at that time. Interestingly enough, a group of researchers did a research study on I think it was trail runners, it was runners that ran outside in the winter time, and they found that 60% of them were vitamin D deficient. So it's a real issue for people who are outside in the winter even, because they just do not get strong enough sunshine then. Good, so moving on from there, looking at minerals. So the main mineral that everybody knows helps to build strong bones is calcium. But actually you also need magnesium and phosphorus to a certain extent. These can easily be had through the diet. So the type of foods that contain the most calcium and magnesium and phosphorus, I googled it today, or there's a website which is also in the blog post that I'll post, where you can look at different nutrient contents for different sorts of or kinds of food. And dairy products has far more calcium and magnesium and phosphorus in it than any other product out there or any other food stuff. Now, I know some of you may be vegan, or some of you may be, yes, vegan or vegetarian, or just don't like dairy. So other things like spinach, potatoes even, carrots, loads of other fruit and veg also has calcium, magnesium, phosphorus in it, just not to the same extent. So just have a look at your diet and see what you eat in a day and just add it up and see if you're actually getting enough calcium and all of the other minerals in that. On that point as well, you can get a little bit of vitamin D from your diet because you do find it in eggs and oily fish and things like that, but it's really not nearly enough, and the research has shown that you actually only absorb about half of what you if you eat vitamin D, so half of your intake. So you're really better off taking a supplement than trying to eat enough eggs to get your vitamin D in through that way. Now we're getting to one that's really important that people don't quite understand, and especially athletes don't appreciate enough. If you do not eat enough calories for the amount of calories you burn in a day, and you do that over a long period, your body will actually stop producing new bone and your bone density will go down. So when I say if you don't eat enough, I mean you chronically undereat. So you're taking in quite a lot fewer, or do you say a lot fewer? Anyways, you take a lot fewer calories in than what you expend in your during your training or during the working day. Now this goes, we all know about eating disorders like anorexia or bulimia, and those are the easy ones to spot. And so general public who aren't athletes are at risk of poor bone health if you fall into those categories where some people just forget to eat. It's not even that they've got anorexia, it just doesn't occur to them, or when they stress they just don't eat. You're really playing with your bone health if you do that for long enough. Now, athletes who are at higher risk are your endurance athletes, so endurance runners. Researchers were quite surprised because impact sport is meant to help build bone, but what they found was that guys who does a lot of endurance running actually sometimes have poorer bone health than guys who does shorter runs. And what they think it is that the body goes into a starvation phase and actually stops producing food. So the other problem with endurance events, or if you do that often, is that people try to be a really low weight because then you actually perform better. Same with cycling, jockeys, riding horses, things like that. If you have a low body mass in that instance, you will, or you're likely going to perform better. It's okay to do it in a short run, but if you continuously do that, you will affect your bone health. So this has been known in females for a long time. They've been doing research in this area for females over 20 years, and the reason they've been focusing on females is that as soon as we go into a starvation phase where our bodies aren't getting enough calories, so they're having to prioritize which bits are they going to keep alive, our reproductive system switches off, so we can't create babies. And what happens? Your menstruation stops. So it's quite easy to spot it in females. Problem is, men don't have any obvious signs like that. So for years they've just kind of, researchers have thought that men were immune to this. But recently research has come out to show that actually no. If males restrict their diets too severely, same thing happens. Their sex hormones decreases and it affects their bone density. So they're being predisposed to stress fractures and things like that over time. So if you're not entirely sure about how much food you should be taking and whether you are in a dangerous situation, then it's really worth just discussing it with an experienced sports nutritionist or dietitian. It's not always the skinny guys either, because I had an interesting case of a guy who it didn't even occur to me to ask about his diet at first, because he wasn't chubby, but he was well built and heavy built. He's a police officer, so he's working shifts. He's also got small children, so he's not sleeping well. And he used to be a really high level triathlete. So he used to compete in Kona for Ironman. Long period off training, wanted to get back to his fitness. I think he was near his 40s, so he really wanted to try and get back into it. So he wanted to drop the weight quickly and up the training as quickly as possible. And his aim was to run the Beachy Head Marathon in Eastbourne, which is a horrendous marathon over quite tremendous hills. But he didn't just want to complete it, he wanted to do a proper job of it. And he had obvious signs of a stress fracture in his tibia. And I tried to figure out what he'd been doing, because his training didn't sound that much of an increase or sudden increase or anything like that. Shoes were okay, everything like that. And eventually, I can't even remember what led us to that. I realized that this guy was eating something like 900 calories a day while training so hard and only getting 4 hours of sleep. So immediately I realized that he was just not getting enough nutrients in, and then he was neglecting his recovery through not sleeping enough. So that's quite an extreme example of, you do not have to be skinny to actually suffer from the effects of not taking in enough calories. Okay, so then we get to the fourth category, which is all about exercise. So again, I think most people these days know that weight-bearing exercise is the best for building bones, because the impact or the vibration from the weight-bearing activities helps to stimulate the bone to grow. Things that fall into that category is walking, running, playing sports like rugby or football or hockey, aerobics, anything that involves jumping. For the arms, that's a little bit more tricky, so things like weight training can work. For the back, of course, horse riding is a great one, but running and so on will also help the lower back. Where it becomes tricky is if you fall into the category of somebody who's got an injury that can't actually do high impact sport or high impact activities like running or walking, that you really just can't stand that. What if you can only cycle or only swim? Well, the good news is that while the research shows that people who do high impact activity has better bone health than others who do low impact activity like swimming and cycling, the research also shows that if you do swim and cycle, you're still better off than somebody who's sedentary, just sitting on the couch. And they think that is because of the action of the muscles pulling on your bones, that's also stimulating them. Interestingly enough, for swimmers as well, they found that guys who did a lot of sprint swimming had better bone health than the guys who did only like endurance steady state swimming. And again, it's all about the effort, how hard the muscles are pulling on the bones. There was also some suggestion that the kicking off the wall during swimming had a good effect on the swimmer's legs. So if you find that you can't do impact activity, speak to somebody. Like a physio is a good person to chat to, because to be honest, any physio who's worth their while will be able to adjust things for you. There's always something you can do. There's nobody who can't do any exercise. And what I've understood from this research that I've read today is that any exercise is better than no exercise. First prize is impact activity, but definitely if you can't do that, then anything else will already help as well. Okay, so to recap, your 4 things that you need to check that you're doing right is you need vitamin D, you need your essential minerals, which are calcium, phosphorus, magnesium. Have a look, because to get enough out of spinach and things like that, you have to eat quite a lot. So make sure you have enough of that. The other thing I forgot to say is a good source of calcium can be fortified orange juice. So just check. Loads of things have been fortified with calcium if you're not keen on dairy products. Then thirdly is eating enough. So if you're training hard, make sure you're replacing those calories, otherwise you're playing with fire. And fourth is impact activity. So making sure that you get some sort of vibration through the bones to keep them stimulated. Excellent. So remember, if you've got any specific problems you need help with, you're welcome to consult me via Skype. And if you've got any questions, pop them in the comments box. Even if you're watching this on replay, I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you for watching. If you would like to learn more about preventing sports injuries, make sure you hit the subscribe button. See you next time.